Colonel Peter Stitt, who is going to give you, say a few words to you, and after which I'll be reading the official tribute for VE Day. But over to Colonel.
Deputy Lieutenant, Lord Mayor, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it's a privilege to be here in Newcastle today to mark the 80th anniversary of Victory in Europe Day, in a city with such an excellent reputation for supporting our armed forces. Many of you will have gathered here last June to commemorate the 80th anniversary of D-Day, probably the most iconic military event of World War II. But you'll know that Victory in Europe Day is very different. It's a celebration of a monumental victory that saw the whole nation pull together over more than 6 years of war, enduring enormous sacrifice and loss as we initially protected ourselves, then fought through Europe with our allies to defeat a fanatical and ruthless enemy. Newcastle was always going to be fundamentally affected by the war. You have always had very strong links to your armed forces, so it is no surprise that huge numbers of men and women flowed into the Army, Navy and Air Force from 1939 onwards. Infantry regiments like the Royal Northumberland Fusiliers, based just behind St James's Park in Fenham Barracks here in Newcastle, expanded 5 times over as they grew in size to fight the war. The same happened in other Army corps and regiments and across the Royal Navy and Royal Air Force. All of these new soldiers, sailors and airmen left holes that needed filling in the workforces they left behind. And as they did during the First World War, it was the city's women who filled those gaps so that Newcastle's vital industries kept producing at the scale that was required. Companies such as Vickers Armstrong in Scotswood and Elswick, a leading arms manufacturer, used a heavily female workforce to build over 200 warships during the war, including 3 aircraft carriers, and thousands of tanks, and hundreds of thousands of smaller weapons. The importance of Newcastle's industries made the city a priority target for the Luftwaffe. Anti-aircraft defences were commonplace, especially on the high ground either side of the Tyne, protecting the factories there. 13 Group was the RAF's Northern Region Fighter Command, headquartered in Kenton Bar. It was one of the most successful fighter groups of the Battle of Britain, but inevitably, homes were destroyed in the German air raids, and hundreds of civilians lost their lives. Many who died were local volunteer air raid precaution wardens, or ARPs, headquartered in Jesmond Dean, who did so much to try to warn and move civilians before the bombs fell. So Newcastle adjusted to the war, and its people just got on with it, without fuss, without performance, all in the knowledge that the war was all of their business, and that victory would need everyone to put their shoulders to the wheel. After some hard years of tough fighting, mostly further afield than Europe, it was the invasion of France on the 6th of June 1944, or D-Day, that led to a steady Allied push across northwest Europe and into Germany. With its army defeated, Germany signed an unconditional surrender on the 8th of May 1945, finishing the war in Europe and triggering celebrations the length and breadth of the country. So as we celebrate this 80th anniversary of Victory in Europe Day, can I ask you to reflect on 2 things? Firstly, this was not the end of World War II. We were still at war with another vicious enemy in the Far East, where our war against Japan would last until the 15th of August 1945. So let's all put that date in our diaries so that we can acknowledge the efforts and sacrifices of those involved in that faraway campaign as well. It meant that 80 years ago today, here in Newcastle and elsewhere, there was euphoria at the victory in Europe, but there was also continued worry about friends and relatives still caught up in the Far East theatre of war, and an acknowledgement that continued resolve and more work was needed to see it through. Secondly, armies, navies and air forces alone do not win wars. Even in my own experience of relatively small-scale conflict, we rely on the support of our nation. The knowledge that we are supported, appreciated and valued is fundamental to our ability to fight. And so it was during World War II. The war affected every aspect of life here in Newcastle, and still the city supported its armed forces with passion and pride and gave them strength. Many today will talk of the military victory of VE Day, but it was much more than that. It was a national victory, achieved by a nation uniting and working with determination to ensure our way of life was protected, nourished, and passed on to future generations. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure to be here with you today. Enjoy today's celebrations, and when you get a chance, please raise a glass to all those who brought about victory in Europe 80 years ago. Military, civilian, male, female, engineer, miner, farmer, teacher, firemen and firewomen, emergency services, medics, and so many more. And please commit to raising another glass on the 15th of August this year to honour all those involved in bringing us victory over Japan and bringing a close to the Second World War. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much for that, Peter. And I think Peter summed up very well there what VE Day is all about people's emotions and about the sacrifices that were made and about the wonderful part played by so many people in our own city as well during those very troubled years. So thanks very much for that, Peter. I'm now about to read the official tribute for VE Day. This tribute is something that's compiled by the King's Pageant Master, and I understand will be read out at similar ceremonies all around the country to celebrate this particular occasion. So this is the official tribute to VE Day. Let us remember those who gave their lives at home and abroad, whose sacrifice enables us all to enjoy the peace that we have today. Let us remember those who came home, wounded physically and mentally, and the friends and family who cared for them. Let us remember those who returned to restore their relationships and rebuild their working and family lives after years of conflict. Let us remember the families who lost husbands, wives, sons, daughters and sweethearts. Let us remember the servicemen and women of other nationalities and faiths from all round our Commonwealth and our allied countries who fought, suffered and died during those troubled 6 years of war. Let us remember those in reserved occupations and the brave people who kept us safe on the home front, the doctors, the nurses who cared for the wounded, the men and women who toiled in the fields, the fishermen who fished the seas, those who worked in the factories and the air raid wardens, the police officers, the firemen, ambulance drivers, the young people of the Scouts and the Guides, who all played such a vital role in the war effort at home. God save the King. I would now ask the band to play the national anthem.
Hooray! Hooray! Shout! Stand up.
As the flambeaux beacons along ceremonial way are being lit, can I take this opportunity to thank you all for joining in these wonderful VE Day celebrations and give a huge thank you to the band and to the Newcastle Male Boys Choir for entertaining us all this evening. I think we should give them all a round of applause.